Everyone, this is Janae Beyond, the Executive Director of NASCSP. I'm very excited that we're holding this webinar today to kick off NASCSP State Monitoring Group. Notes, a lot has changed since we first talked about the possibility of starting this group. For instance, OCS has made changes to their grant monitoring processes, gone through a second ACSI survey, and not only did OCS receive better scores for grant monitoring, but states also provided a lot of feedback on the survey for further improvements. I'm very encouraged that OCS is so willing to engage with us via the ACSI in this group to get in-depth feedback from states about their grant monitoring, which OCS can then use to inform further process improvements. Today's meeting is to provide a clear vision pertaining to what we want to accomplish and to review what the parameters of this group's work will be. I'm looking forward to working with all of you in the further months ahead and know that this group is going to make a great difference. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Janelle George, the Acting OCS Director, to set the stage for our work going forward.
Okay, and I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy schedules to participate in this call. I'm glad that we have been able to come together and follow up on a topic that we all know contributes a great deal to the success of CSBG. And I also want to acknowledge the commitment of those of you that are here today for your original effort and volunteering to participate to work with OCS as relates to monitoring. I'm well aware that the group was established back in 2017 during Jeannie Chafin's tenure, and that at that time you did have 1 or 2 meetings in 2017 to discuss and address CG monitoring issues and concerns, and that the original intent was to provide what we considered best practices and guidance to OCS, how OCS could perhaps implement that into its current state monitoring procedures. I think we can't say enough that OCS really does value the feedback that we are provided. We're very well aware that there are some issues in regards to monitoring, such as timeliness of feedback, and we really want to focus on our ability to improve and just improve in the quality of the feedback that we're providing. And in order to do that, I think that it's really important that we ensure that we use the information that has already been provided to us. As you know, back in November last year, we conducted our 3rd ACSI survey of grantees, and then in January of this year, we received the results of that survey, and it included information regarding our monitoring efforts. Grant monitoring, as it relates to the ACSI survey, was one of the areas that identified as being a high impact area, and an area that was one of the drivers of our scores. And so we want to make sure that we fully understand and take into account the feedback that we've already received as it relates to grant monitoring. Just to make sure everyone is sort of up to speed, in other words, sort of where we are now as it relates to monitoring processes and procedures regarding OCS. You may be aware that back in May of last year, we did create an internal monitoring group. It was our grant monitoring implementation team, and the goal of that group was really to standardize the monitoring procedures and processes and tools that we would use across OCS programs. And that was really done with the goal of becoming more efficient and more effective in our monitoring work, and recognizing that if we did so, it would probably benefit our grantees, particularly since our grantees are administering more than one OCS program. So what I want to do is make that the group understands that we really do value your input. There, a little bit later in this call, there will be more in-depth discussion in terms of the role of participants and the goal that OCS is trying to receive. But in short, I will tell you that we're really trying to make sure that we understand the feedback that has already been received, make that we're interpreting it correctly so that any efforts that we put forward, any new processes or procedures that they are sensitive to and responsive to the feedback that we already have. With that, what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Kate Blunt, who is going to be facilitating the call today. And Kate?
Now, that set the right tone and gave us a sense of what we hope to accomplish. So let's go right.
Yes.
You will. Yeah. Okay. So So let's just kick this off with a little bit of a quote, which I think builds on what Janae and Janelle just said. And this is from one of the respondents to the survey regarding grant monitoring. And I think moves this along. It says, and it was the state, I left out the name of the state, has not been monitored by OCS since 2010, so we don't have current experience. However, we believe it is critical that OCS have a process in place for input and feedback from states regarding monitoring process and procedures. Such collaboration on the important function of monitoring will result in a process that is more useful to both states and OCS for the purposes of performance measurement and improvement. This model of collaboration should be expected of states and eligible entities to be modeled by OCS in the relationship with states. So good for us all that we are doing effort and, in fact, in doing collaboration and moving on with continuous improvement and using the ACSI to guide us. So let's see the agenda. Next slide. So after some introductions, I think we all just need to introduce ourselves. We're mostly going to focus, as you all know, on the work plan, the draft work plan, and then trying to get ourselves organized in terms of a meeting schedule. So the work plan will look at our purpose, the deliverables, the tasks, the timetable, and the responsibilities, just so we're all clear and make sure there's no questions. And just try to figure out how often we want to meet, when, and kind of talk about what our next meetings might look like. Okay, so let's go to introductions. What is we can just have everybody who's on the line tell us, obviously, your name and your position, but more importantly, what is you think you bring to this monitoring group, either in terms of significant knowledge you have, or, you know, a passion or some skill. You know, what will be your contribution, you know, that we can look toward you to for, you know, the work on this group. So does anybody want to start? Anybody ready to start?
Actually, keep this organized. Why don't we do kind of like a roll call? So Beverly Buchanan, can you get us started?
Great.
Did you say?
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I wanted to make sure that you said Beverly. There was a little bit of background noise. Yes, I'm Beverly Buchanan. I'm the CSPG manager in Arkansas. I bring 10 years of experience in the CSPG network, as well as a passion for the work that we do.
Thank you. Greg?
This is Greg Piper. I'm the CSPG program manager for Iowa. I've been with CSPG since 1998, and before that I was with LIHEAP and Weatherization, so I have a lot of experience to bring. And I enjoy monitoring, and we work really hard on it at our state, so I think that background will help add to this committee.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Chris?
This is Christina. I am from Michigan. I'm the Executive Director of the Bureau of Community Action. I administer CSPG and weatherization. Some of the things that I've worked on in the past 10 years in this position is assessments, and I've had a very significant role in our programmatic and financial monitoring, along with our technical monitoring. And we've had experiences in working in rebuilding the action at the local level for some areas that we've found that we had trouble with, and so really interested in compliance and working with you as a team and OS on to look at, you know, what we do every day at the states and how to hold us accountable and what we're doing. So I'm really excited about this opportunity.
Chris. Matt Gerald?
Matt Gerald, I'm in the CSPG state office in Virginia, and I have been in state government for about 13 years, and I was previously in a role where I monitored 50 grantees over the course of a year. So I've been intensive monitoring on site, and also in this position, I've gone out and monitored grantees, written the letters, done all the things like that before getting into the role I'm in now. So I've seen it on that end and on the end of managing folks that are monitoring. So I think that I bring.
Thanks. Lauren Berry?
Hi, I'm Perry from Indiana. I'm the Director of Community Programs at our housing agency, and I oversee the HEAP program, CSBG, weatherization, and a few others. Been in my position 2 years, and in those 2 years we've been monitored by the CSBG and LIHEAP folks, so hopefully I will bring to the group some very recent experience going through monitoring.
Lauren. From CS, Alicia Anderson?
Afternoon. This is Alicia. Do you hear me? I didn't test my my intercom here, but do you hear me okay?
We can. Thank you.
Okay, great. I feel like I can bring the assessment, being able to conduct risk assessments, and the approach of using integrative monitoring that's for reviewing formula, block, or discretionary grants. So I needed to be a part of the working group for us to continue bringing innovative approaches to the states agencies.
This is Bill Bulk with OCS. I'm the branch chief for the CSBG. And what I think I can bring to the table is I was a senior monitor at SAMHSA before I joined ACF. On the program side, went to several different states while at SAMHSA, so have an appreciation for monitoring, for having done it, and also from serving current role.
Anyone else from OCS?
This is Sassett. I'm going to be on these calls regularly. Bill and Alicia are the leads, but just to be, to emphasize that we'll be working closely and communicating about how things are going, and they'll be sharing any thoughts or feedback, and we're really looking forward to your input.
Thanks. And then from the NASCSP side, again, this is Janae. We're bringing a lot of team experience with monitoring. Personally, for me, I was a CSBG program manager in Oregon from 2001 to 2005, where I was in charge of local agency monitorings, and then I've worked at NASCSP from 2005 until 2018, and that's working at the national level on the CSBG processes. Jackie Orr will be the lead on this work, and she brings a lot of experience working with local agencies and state associations as well. Back to you, Kate.
Good. And let me just mention, along with Bill and with Alicia, the OCS representatives, three of us, along with a few other people from OCS, have been working on that grant monitoring implementation team that Janelle mentioned earlier. The team into OCS that's been working on standardizing some processes, procedures, and tools, increase efficiency and effectiveness. And that's kind of why we're participating in this, in that we can be the ones to sort of get to you and gather your feedback and get some, and bring you up to speed on sort of what's in the works and what some of those new tools would look like. So hopefully we bring a lot of wealth of information on that. Obviously, I also bring about the CSI, since I'm kind of the point person on that. So I'm really looking forward and very excited. I think this is going to be a group, and I know we're going to move quickly and be able to get a lot done in a pretty short period of time, I think. So let's go on to our main topics, which is looking at the work plan and kind of making sure that we all understand it and have questions and are in agreement. Can I go to the next slide? Okay. So the purpose of the monitoring group, we're looking at kind of a threefold purpose. Obviously, assisting OCS in obtaining a better understanding of the feedback from the survey, something that Janelle just forwarded, so that anything that new that they might be introducing fits into the feedback and furthers the satisfaction of the group. That we will be able to provide OCS feedback about that are being proposed, and that we assist OCS in providing a common understanding. So being able to develop some communication tools or communication plans so that everybody understands what OCS is about on this new monitoring efforts. And about the purpose, any is with it, the sense to everybody?
Kate, this isn't a question about the purpose, but your phone line's going in and out a little bit. Just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, yeah, and I'm having to hold my phone because my ear, never mind about it. I will take care of that. Thanks so much. Okay, any other questions on the purpose? Let's go. Deliverables. So we want to make sure we one document detailing information obtained from focus groups about OCS's current and proposed monitoring procedures, policies, and tools, including suggestions for improvement, based on the feedback we got and the feedback that we get, and building on the feedback that we did get from the ACSI. And second, deliverables, a communication plan for disseminating information about notifications. We want to make sure that this information is out to all of the states in terms of the new processes and tools. Any questions there? Any concerns? Anything you think should be different or added to it?
From Iowa, not a concern, yeah. But what's your thought, or what are you thinking about with the focus groups?
I'll get into that, but it hinges on some clearance issues that we have, just to make sure we're not sure we need to get clearance for most of this. But that's something Janelle is working on. But we have some, and that's part of why I want to work, or why your group, this group is together, is to have you all help us figure out who to talk to, what are the questions we want to ask. You're kind of the organizing team as well, Will, to get that together. So depending on how this all gets framed, you'll be a vital part of making those decisions. Okay?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks.
Great. And on the deliverables, some that we need to get done. This is in the first few meetings. We're going to do some in-depth diving into the ACSI survey data and the comments. Since we're going to be building on that, we all need to really understand what was said and be able to figure out what we think needs clarification, where we need some more knowledge in what was said. And then we also need to have a common understanding about some of the tools and things that OCS has been putting together. So I have a prioritization assessment tool, which some of you think of as a risk assessment, but calling it a prioritization assessment tool. The United, my decided to go to sleep, hang on. The Unified Monitoring tool, which OCS has begun implementing on, in some of their on-site. The list of information that we request from states, which we're beginning to standardize. The plates that are being used for state assessment reports. Some new procedures for how do we look at corrective action planning and training and technical assistance follow-up, and then the whole question of timeline for all of this. So we'll be able to brief you all on this so that you know what it is OCS has done to improve their processes in response to the ACSI. And then we can talk about how do these things fit into the kind of feedback that we've heard from the states. And about these activities, I think there's another sheet. Oh, go to the next slide. Sorry. Yeah, some other activities. Obviously, and this is the question, is we want this group to be able to assist in developing specific focus group themes, the topics, the questions, with however many focus groups we have, determining the makeup of the groups, and then obviously participating. So we'll be fleshing this out after we all are the same page with the information. But we're going to need your guidance in much of this. And then a big chunk of what we're going to do after we gather the information is to discuss what we learned from these groups and to provide some recommendations to OCS based on all that feedback. And then finally to develop a communication strategy to form the network of the results and what you all did and what we're doing with OCS. And ends on the activities. Are these clear? Are these exciting? Do these interest you?
No, I think it sounds great. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a good way to feel about it.
I'm here.
Okay, nobody's terrified or wants to leave or anything, right? Okay.
Not at all.
All right. Good. Okay, next then. Timeline in our meeting schedule. What we'll do is be able to complete our work within 120 days. This is something, it's rocket science. We should be able to move through this somewhat quickly. Obviously, it depends on all of our commitments and the time available. But something that if we can do it more quickly will be more helpful. And we're hoping, and this is the proposal, that we'll meet for 90 minutes via, a webinar twice a month until we get the work completed. Now, some of that may change a little as we, actually participate or deal with the focus groups. But in terms of planning and get to know what we're talking about, we need to meet at least twice a month. So that's the proposal. How does the 120 days and the twice a month, how does that fit with all? Is that something that sounds doable?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, 120 days is good, and I think the managed scheduling, that's going to be, I guess, the biggest twice a month. But I'm definitely committed to doing it. Just the scheduling might be a little difficult to get everybody with free 90 minutes. But
yeah, we have to figure time. It's part of what we want to see if we can do some of that today.
With a short time frame on 120 days, I think getting it done is great.
And I think we can do it if we do at least twice a month. I think we can get it done. If we end up with only once a month, this could vary. So I'm hoping we can all manage to figure that out. People reactions? Are we okay?
No, I agree with Matt. I think that's a good time frame.
Yeah, great. This from Iowa. Yeah, this worked for me as well.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, we're looking for the summer. Okay, that'll be great. Before it gets too hot, we can be done. All right. Next slide. What's this for all of us on this team? Obviously, to attend things that we schedule as much as possible. This is a small group, so everybody's thinking is going to be really important. We're going to be getting a lot of information, and we are going to do our best to get it to you well in advance, but we need it to be reviewed. You're not going to want to be trying to figure this stuff out on the fly as you're listening to stuff. So you're going to find some of this is, there's a lot, so we're going to want you to look at things. Obviously, the planning and execution of the focus groups, that's going to be a big deal. I have a lot of experience with focus groups. I hate to say it, but I've been doing focus groups for 40 years now. So I can guide that and structure it, but we're going to need your help in terms of what's the information we want. How do we build on what we already know? It's going to be important that we keep our deliberations confidential at the end when we decide what we're going to communicate. We don't want to have people misinterpret or misunderstand or think something's happening that's not. So that would be a helpful thing. And on the end, work with OCS to communicate the results that we get. OCS will help us figure out what is it we want to be able to tell network, because we do want to have work understand that OCS is all about improvement, and that's going to be helpful. Make sense? Anyone have anything else they think we should add to this list?
This is Janae. I just want to add that for those of you who haven't worked with Kate directly, this may seem daunting of a task for the members of this group, but just know that I've had the privilege of working with Kate for almost, 2 years, Kate? And I can say as a facilitator, a task manager, keeping us on track and making sure that we move things quickly. She's excellent at that, and that if we can ever get done with meetings early, she keeps us on track that way. So I think that it's really exciting that we do have your experience in helping to facilitate this dialogue and keep things moving.
Thank you. So what I do now is just apologize for the next 3 or 4 months if ever I seem too abrupt or moving too fast. It's not anything personal, and you can tell me to no, slow down. But that is my nature, so I do appreciate it. But hopefully that will be helpful. So, any other thoughts? Thanks again, Jen. Any other thoughts on the group member responsibilities? Yeah.
Yeah, fine on the responsibilities. I was just wondering are you thinking that like sharing of documents and stuff is going to be like Dropbox or just emails, or do you have any?
Oh, Dropbox is a good idea.
I would love Dropbox, but I already know of at least one of you who can't access Dropbox. So why don't we do a quick query after this call to ensure who has access and who doesn't. To Google Docs or Dropbox would be ideal, but we may have to deal with emailing.
Yeah. All right, let's figure something out. That's a very good suggestion. If we can do it, we'll figure out. Yeah, I know the amount of emails you get, everything can get lost, and we're going to be mailing a lot of stuff. So, okay, let's see what we can do. Any other thoughts on that? No. Okay, let's go to the next. All right, meeting schedule. So we talk twice a month. I think I heard that is all right. People are willing to try to work that out. Talking 90 minutes. From my perspective, 60 is too short for what we need to get done, and 120, I'm already dead. So I'm hoping 90 will work with everybody. Then I wanted to get some feedback from you all. And if 90 or twice a month doesn't work, speak up now, please. And then the days and times, I just wanted to get a quick sense. Obviously, we can do a poll at some point, but maybe since we're a small group, if there are particular days that are either the best for you or days that are absolutely out, I need to know that, and that'll help us narrow this down so we don't spend weeks trying to figure out some days and times. So let's hear from you. What days work best or are absolutely out?
That's for me.
Okay, anybody else? Fridays?
Yeah,
Fridays for everybody?
Yeah.
Good. Is that Fridays that are absolutely no go? Fridays is our first choice. Okay. Are y'all alert on Fridays? We're all still functioning on Fridays. I know that's a blunt question, but
okay. I think I'm at my best on Friday.
Yes.
Okay, because you're looking for. Okay, can I ask, are Friday mornings or Friday afternoons? I mean, I know this time. I have to admit, I'm a little concerned about Friday afternoons. Do Friday mornings work for people?
Yes.
What is the first?
I only have Central. I think Centrals are furthest away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, more for me. Definitely.
So
Okay,
go ahead.
I would just say if we do mornings to start, if we could start at 10, because we normally at OCS we have a standing 9:30 to 10 meeting every day. So if it's possible to start at 10.
Okay, so that's your proposal. Let me throw it out. 11:30. Does that work for everybody on Friday? Friday, 10 to 11:30.
Okay, so you're 10 to 11:30 Eastern time, so it'd be 10:30 for me. Yeah, I'm fine with that. This is Big at Iowa.
Deanna, you're on Eastern or Central? I forget.
Eastern, and yeah, time's fine.
Okay, it's on Eastern. And Chris, you're on Eastern too, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay. So 10 to 11:30 Friday morning.
Yep.
Hey, that wasn't so. This is a domain. Okay. So we just need to see when our next two meetings. But let's first, before we got the exact dates, let's go to the next. I want to propose, and I may be too, and Alicia, help me out here. I may be being too aggressive here. I'm hoping at the next meeting, our second meeting, we would do basically, 4 things. Goal would be to have you just survey what the concerns that have been raised, and then understand some of the tools and templates that OCS is using. So what we do based on the ACSI survey and data, I can provide that. It won't take a huge amount of time, and we'll send something out to you in advance. But just hoping we could go over three things: the prioritization assessment tool, the unified monitoring tools, and the state assessment report template. As about this just before the meeting, I'm thinking, you may have the time for it, but it may also just be much. What do you think, Alicia? And Bill, what do you guys think?
That's Alicia on the phone, so Bill, can you respond?
Oh, no, that's fine. I think that sounds like an appropriate
You think
agenda.
we do all three? You think all three?
I think we can definitely do 2 out of 3, and I think if we, if an hour and a half and we stay on task and we do a half hour each, that could work.
I will attempt to do that, and if it looks like we cannot, because Alicia's going to be helping me with some of this briefings, and maybe some other people from the internal grant monitoring team. If that's going to be too long, we'll move the state assessment report template to the next meeting. But does this sound like an okay agenda for
I'll only just say that this group's pretty savvy on the ACSI and everything, so you won't have to do that deep of a dive into that.
Okay. I do have some additional information, the group of 12, and some things I want to do that information they might not have seen already. But yes, that'll be fine. I won't spend a whole half hour on that. I just know the prioritization tool, a lot to that, and the monitoring tool, there's a lot to that. The report template's not so long, so maybe that'll be fine. Let's go to the next slide, which is the next meeting, our thing which I propose. Understand the pre- and post-monitoring process, because what the internal grant monitoring team has been working on is developing a cycle CS for LIHEAP and for CSBG and some of the other grant programs, where they have a similar cycle, both pre and post, as well as on-site, with time frames and some common or some standardized letters, et cetera. So we'd like to walk you through the monitoring process and documents, the cycle, the time frames. This is where the document request list, we're trying to come up with one list type of thing. And then also what we're proposing in terms of post-monitoring, the corrective action procedures, and then the follow-on T&TA procedures. So there's some stuff in the works. Some of it's pretty new. Some of it hasn't even been implemented, so it's a good time to let's get some feedback. How will this be viewed, tying it in with what people said on the survey. I would propose for the third meeting, and if necessary, we get the state assessment template on this meeting too, because these won't take that long. So that's what I propose, because I think that will bring all of you up to speed on sort of what I'm talking about, both in terms of the survey, all of the new procedures and tools. Then we can build on, okay, now what do we do with all of this? What kind of feedback do we need to get, and how do we get it? And as a plan. If this makes sense, then let's think about when we want to get started. So I know Easter's coming up, and I just want to make sure I'd like the first 2 meetings, the next 2 meetings to be set, because they build on each other, and we need to be able to, we all can remember the stuff. So
let me just say some already known problems with next Friday we can't do because it's the NCAP conference.
Yeah,
so
that's
we're
why
booked
we
for
do
that.
Yeah.
Next, the 30th. You guys are all the good group. Don't tell anybody else I said that, even though we're recording this. But March 31st is when all of your CSBGIS and annual reports are due. So March 30th is a due date, so that just a cautionary, think about that date as whether you have the time to do this meeting.
I won't be available on March 30th either. I'll be away on leave as well.
Okay, so I have a problem with that. Just a question when, so that we have a date certain to when to start. Unfortunately, the 6th is not going to be good for me. I probably shouldn't reveal this, but I'm celebrating a birthday that week. So bad birthday. So I will be off on the 6th. So the question is, could everybody do the 13th of April?
Kind of fitting to do Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be the 13th, and then that would be good. And then the next one would be the 27th. Is that a Friday, April 27th? My calendar in front of me. Is that right? 13th
yeah.
and then the 27th?
Yes, correct.
So, looks good. We send out calendar invites, but can everybody do Friday the 13th and Friday the 27th from 10 to 11:30? Actually, that works best because it's going to take Alicia and Bill and I a little bit of time to put together to send to you and to be able to brief you. So we need some time to do that anyway. So how does that sit with everybody? 13th and the 27th?
This is Iowa. Both work good.
Okay, just good.
Beverly's good. Beverly's good.
Beverly's.
Yeah, and those are fine for me.
Okay, Matt and Chris?
Yep, it's good.
We are set. You already see what we're going to do on the agenda. So the key thing will be to start getting you some information. I think the first thing is we'll send the ACSI reports. You can, pore over that. Oh, it's wonderful midnight reading. And I'll work with Alicia and the other team meeting on Thursday, actually, to putting together some review on the other tools. So, any questions, any concerns, comments? How are you all feeling?
It's good, and I think that with the advance time to review all the documents and stuff, it'd be fine.
Okay. If we do things a week in advance, is that enough time?
For it is.
Okay. That's what that's what I'm gonna aim at. None of this, we should be able to do all of that. Okay. I think unless anyone has anything else they want to raise, we are organized and ready to go. I read it and I'm looking forward to it. Have a great weekend, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.